Steve Bannon. Anybody remember when I did a stream on these guys? You remember all these people here? I mean, folks, this is real detective shit. You saw the video I did on the Nigerians, all this shit, and I wrote about them a few years ago, right? I wrote about this guy, Build the Wall. I actually contacted the authorities many years ago when I saw this guy on Fox. I was the first guy to contact. I knew it was a scam brewing. And what happened several years later, Bannon's involved. They both fucking get sentenced to jail, to prison. Right? I mean, this is the real fucking expose here. This is world-class scam expose going on here. I guess you all don't remember when I did these videos, when I exposed Miles Kwok, the guy who was recently sentenced to prison for $1 billion fraud. He was teamed up with Raoul Real Vision several years ago, putting out all this propaganda videos on China, all this horse shit. I came out and exposed how Kyle Bass aligned himself with this guy. It turned out that Kyle Bass took illicit proceeds from this guy to fund his short fund, shorting the Hong Kong dollar. You all don't remember all this shit? I mean, where else are you going to hear this shit from? Nowhere. You all don't remember? I've done videos and streams on this. So, the videos are there. I've done it all. Right? I mean, folks, this is the value in being able to spot a con artist, a scammer, a fraud instantly, like I did Raoul Paul many years ago. I knew this guy was a fraud instantly, and it's sad and shocking, but this guy is still positioning himself. I saw him on a commercial on Scamberg. On Scamberg, he's apparently positioned himself as some type of a kingpin at some cryptocurrency conference in Singapore coming up. This guy's a fucking fraud. Not to mention, if you listen to his crypto calls, go online and research. He's caused people to blow the fuck up. He's such a fucking idiot. His whole backstory is a lie. That's why I knew he was a fraud. He's claiming he predicted the financial crisis. That right there, he's a fraud. Folks, remember, birds of a feather always fucking flock together. There's no coincidence. You understand? Once you spot one fucking fraud, you look around and see who they're hanging out with, what events they're going to, right? Whose channel they're going on. You understand? Then you're going to see the connection. Start watching. Go through these channels and see the people that they're interviewing. And I'm just telling you, you'll see the circle jerk. It's not a fucking coincidence. I'm telling you. It's obvious. So anyway, you got the Colfage here, the amputee who came out several years ago when Donald Trump wanted to build a wall, and he decides to start a GoFundMe fund, and he wants to show everyone that he's a patriot. Here's the psychology, the con man. First of all, he shows you he's an amputee in the wheelchair, and he's a veteran. You understand? No, I'm a veteran. Fuck veterans. Veteran? Fucking spit on him. Veteran. There ain't no fucking real veterans in America going out and fucking killing innocent people. The only veterans in America, if they're still alive, fought in World War I and World War II. Everything else is bullshit. Shit. Veteran. But of course, that gets to people. He knows that. That's why he pulled the thing, the whole sympathy. Yeah. I'll trust him. Yeah, he's an honorable guy. He was a veteran. He gave his life. He's amputee. He wants to build a wall. I'm going to send him money. He's going to do it. You got it? You understand? If you really want to do something like that, if you're honest, you're not going to show your little amputee horse shit. You see what I'm saying? You all follow me. You don't put superficial things to lure people. It's just like these guys who use religion to reel in people, like Dave Ramsey and many other people. Anything with religion and investments, they're all instantly automatic, guaranteed scam. Write it the fuck down, take it to the bank. Right? I'm giving you guys, I'm teaching you how to spot con artists, by the way. If you've been taking notes of all these videos, I'm giving you all the golden rules. Pretty easy. Getting back to Bannon, I want to show you here. This is funny. Folks, it's the same song and dance. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I mean, you can't be more fucking obvious. Why don't you just take off your clothes, Steve? Take off your clothes and make everything obvious. What am I talking about? Take a look at the picture of Jesus Christ in the background. In the American flag. I mean, you see all this bullshit? Folks, this is the red flag. This is the telltale sign it's a fucking con. You understand? He's got all the little religious shit in the background, the American flag, right? And then what is it all about? It's all about pitching you gold. I mean, the problem is that the people this appeals to are so fucking stupid that after I tell them this, they'll still fall for it. That's the problem. You all get what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Why? It's also, this is the same type of line of thinking that, Patrick Boyle. Oh, look, Patrick Boyle, he's wearing a suit. Dude, what are you doing at home wearing a fucking suit for your YouTube videos? You understand what I'm saying? They're doing that for a reason. They're trying to manipulate things. Patrick Boyle, anyone who wears a suit that doesn't need to is trying to con you. You got it? Right? You understand what I'm saying? Just like this. Why is he showing all this religious stuff? Because he wants to lure in the religious zealots. And the flag, he's a patriot. Yeah, oh yeah. Shit. He's still a fucking criminal. He got pardoned by Trump, the fucking fraud criminal himself, but he's still a convicted felon. Steve Bannon, doesn't matter, he got pardoned, he's still a fucking convicted felon. You all know the story, right? He teamed up with this amputee Colfage, with this Fund the Wall, and all these stupid fucking idiots. Anyone that sends money to GoFundMe is a goddamn idiot. Are you fucking stupid? Don't ever do that. Okay? People are so fucking stupid. Jesus Christ. GoFundMe should be shut the fuck down. It's an illegal operation. It's complete horseshit. But anyway, they were living the life, buying all types of properties and luxury and all this shit with the money. And so, fortunately, they got shut down. And so, Steve Bannon, he's this guy, he's always off to the next scam. And you all know I talked about in the last stream at the end, I talked about Scam Book, or I refer to it as another name, which I can't mention on ScamTube, which I also refer to another name, which I can't mention on ScamTube. But Scam Book, Facebook, I mentioned the Cambridge Analytica scam, the fraud, right? You remember that company that got access to 50 million Facebook accounts and used that data to manipulate things. They manipulated the election using ads on Facebook. You all remember that, right? That was that was back in 2015, 2016. That came out maybe in 2017. That's what caused Zuckerfuck. That's what caused Zuckerfuck, the satanic piece of trash, to change Scambook's name into Meta. You all don't know that? By that time, the brand name was so fucked, he had to change it. You see? So, anyway, my point is that, did you know, by the way, that Steve Bannon is the founder of Cambridge Analytica? Steve Bannon was behind Cambridge Analytica. Did you all know that? I never remember hearing about that. Now, I don't pay attention to the news or anything like that. But hell, when it comes to election stuff, things that happen, that just kind of hits you in the face. You can't really get away from it. I don't remember hearing Steve Bannon was, he's the guy that started Cambridge Analytica. Well, in fact, he was the guy. Think about that. Why do you think Donald Trump pardoned him? Right? So, of course, Steve Bannon, he's off to the next scam with Birch Gold. Now, let me just tell you guys, and you all need to spread this information. Any gold company that's got anybody endorsing anything, you better believe you don't trust that gold company. Okay? And in general, any kind of high-profile celebrity person that's endorsing anything, I'd stay away from. It's probably a scam. Okay? Most likely. What they'll do is they'll get these washed-up actors. Like I saw one with Tom Selleck pitching some fucking, I don't know, reverse mortgages or some bullshit. And, he appeals to the baby boomers. They remember Tom Selleck. And of course, Tom Selleck, he's not rolling in the dough, right? He's not doing anything anymore. So he's going to take this money and he's going to appeal to all these old people, right? So why are they doing that? Because they're going to fool the old people, right? So anyway, this whole thing basically, you pretty much understand the song and dance. It's basically with the gold guys, what they do is they get the conservative people. Typically, it's the people that they don't trust the government. The government's bad. Of course, this is typically like the right-wing people, right? The Republicans, which are part of the government, right? I mean, it's kind of like, the Ron Paul's part of this shit too. I exposed Ron Paul 15 fucking years ago, goddamn scam artist. You can't tell that to his cult. Oh no. Ron Paul is one of the first high-profile guys pitching gold, fucking fraudster. Of course, Ron Paul's scam, this is the guy who was in Congress for 30 years. He was always telling you the government's bad. Remember that? Ron Paul, the government's bad. Oh, they're evil. Well, if that's the case, Ron, what the fuck you doing in the government? Get the fuck out, right? Why would you want to be involved with the evil government? Well, he's gonna do something about it. Oh yeah, sure he is. You see, that's the whole pitch, right? That's the pitch. That's the angle that he uses. But so all these conservative guys, basically the guys that tell you, and these are the guys, by the way, they're kind of similar to the libertarians. Similar, libertarians, these fucking scam artists, basically. The libertarian movement, you can look into it. It's, I can't say, but the gang that's basically behind the libertarian movement. It's the mafia. And if you take a look at the leaders of it, the big kingpins, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you can go back into the history and take a look at what's that lady, that lunatic wacko girl's name? Ayn Rand, right? But typically it's kind of the libertarian. And of course, if you've fallen for the libertarians, I'm not here to say that you're a wacko or a con artist. You're a pigeon. You've been fooled. It's the kingpins that push this shit. They're the frauds. The libertarian scam, basically, folks, that's backed by corporate interests. Yes, that's right. It's not individuals' liberty. They don't give a fuck. It's a Trojan horse. It's for corporate fascism. They want to fool people into thinking that, therefore, your personal freedoms and liberties, get the government out of the way, right? That's libertarian. They're anti-government. No, they're not. That's a ruse. It's a trick. You see? They want you to think that that's what they're for, so that you'll support them when they want to lower the laws of, say, corporate regulation, right? We don't want regulation. You understand? The corporations don't want regulation. Libertarian movement is basically a complete fraud on the people to get the people to basically dig their own fucking graves. That's what it's about. Empowering the corporations so that the corporations can fuck the workers, they can fuck the consumers, and there's no repercussions. That's what the goal of the libertarian movement is. But they masquerade it as an individual liberty and freedom, you see. So basically what you have, same guys that pitch liberty, freedom, buy gold, right? It's the same guys, the conservative talking heads. They're always the ones that pitch the gold, okay? So you got Bannon with Birch Gold. Birch Gold is a typically doing this shit. I wouldn't trust them to save my fucking arm or leg. You see, because what happens with these gold companies, and there's many of them, what they're doing is they're passing the buck. They're doing the media scam. See, what the media does is that the media will interview, let's say, somebody, and he's a fraud, right? Well, guess what? The media is not responsible. And the guy that's a fraud, well, too bad you lost your money, right? In other words, the media, the guy's passing the buck to the media. The media will promote this guy, this fraud, right? The fraud is not promoting himself. The media does it for him, you see? And it's all in the name of news and in media. It's called passing the buck, where nobody really gets kind of responsible for it. So you can have people that kind of swindle through the media. Well, this is what these gold companies do when they pay off guys like Bannon and Glenn Beck and who's that annoying fucking weasel, Ben Shapiro, right, to pitch gold. What they're doing is they're getting Shapiro and Bannon and all these other hacks to promote horse shit, to promote disinformation, to promote nonsense in order to lure people to buy gold. Why? Well, because Birch Gold doesn't want to do it. If Birch Gold does it directly, they can be more easily accused of fraud. You understand? It's called passing the buck. You understand this expression, passing the buck, right? They're passing the buck to Bannon. You see? So Bannon, he doesn't get in trouble because he's just there talking his opinion. He's not selling the gold. You understand? That's why they get these frontmen to do it. So that Birch Gold doesn't get in trouble for promoting horse shit. That's the big scam. That's why all these gold companies, they endorse and they fund all these fucking scammers on YouTube and on TV. They've been doing this shit for a long time. Okay? Someone might want to tell Scott Schaefer to listen to this so he'll understand how it works, because he doesn't know. You see, I just explained it. He doesn't understand. This is low-level shit. So let's take a look now at Steve Bannon. So here's another example, because I want to show you guys the exact material here. So I came across this material, and apparently there's 4 parts to this. So I don't know where this was originally released, but you can see here it's kind of an ebook, and distinctively you can see The End of the Dollar Empire by Steve K. Bannon. Now notice, so what you're thinking is what? Well, it's a little ebook by Steve Bannon. And take a look at the top here, exclusive to Birch Gold Group. So obviously, here's the situation. Steve Bannon did not fucking write this. He didn't write a single fucking word of this. I will guarantee you. Okay? I will guarantee you. He didn't write a single fucking word of this nonsense. Okay? But that's kind of a trick. So think about it for a second. What if Birch Gold wrote all this material? Then Birch Gold will be promoting a bunch of silly horse shit in order to lure people to buy gold. That's a problem. So what do? They pay Steve Bannon to do it. That kind of absolves them from manipulating people. And then, of course, they have a high-profile name for which, some people trust. I don't know why. Steve Bannon is obviously a fucking scam artist. And so you can see here, you know what it's going to say. You know the song and dance. If you know the whole gold pumping scene, if you know the bullshit, you already know the whole fucking plot. It's going to be, they're going to talk about the mythology of all the inflation. Your dollar's not worth this, not worth, it's lost 95% of its value over the past 100 years, and all this nonsense, and the Federal Reserve conspiracy and all this horse shit, right? So you can see here, Volume 1, the Federal Reserve. How the Federal Reserve robs your wealth, enriches the wealthiest Americans, and distorts the free market. Of course, free market is what these guys, they talk about free market, right? The Peter Schiffs of the world, the libertarians. We want a free market. They're complete fucking doctors of distortion, okay? But this is free market's supposed to kind of trigger, free market, liberty, freedom, and they want to make it sound, buy gold, right? So obviously, I don't think you're going to find anybody in the gold community who's more anti-Federal Reserve than me. I tell you who they are. I name the names and I give you the tribe. And I tell you what they've done. But guess what? I don't fucking obsess over them. I don't make it a part of a narrative. I don't use that to pitch anything. That's just the fucking reality. You understand what I'm saying? But the gold kingpins, they want to have this little narrative. And of course, this goes back to Edward Griffin, who's a fucking shill. And this all, folks, this is why I'm saying this whole gold narrative stuff goes way back into time. Many, 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 many decades. And you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of kingpins of disinformation where this mythology has propagated. From Alex Jones, right, to all these other conspiracy people. Remember, alternative media, they pitch gold. In fact, several years ago, that was one of their primary sources of revenue. In some cases, their only source of revenue was pitching gold. Now they're into the supplements industry because that's another way they can scam people with that scam industry. So let's go on now and take a look and see. So remember, this is by Steve Bannon. Dear fellow American, over the last few years, I've become increasingly concerned by a number of growing economic forces that threaten the U.S. This economic warfare is taking place right now on a number of fronts. Now, this was written, I believe, a year ago or so. The immediate goal is to undermine the U.S. dollar. So you can just read all this horse shit on your own. You can find it online. Okay? And here goes the Federal Reserve conspiracy horse shit. Folks, none of this shit fucking matters. Okay? It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what we have to deal with today. What the fuck's going on today? If you want to talk about conspiracies all your life and worry about all this horseshit, then go ahead and join the table, the coffee table, with all the people that talk about big fucking foot and flat earth and fake moon landing. Okay? That's what I'm talking about here. It's these same type of people. So they're going to talk about all this horseshit and take a look here. They're going to give you the chart here. Right? This is the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. Take a look. My gosh. And they want to tag it to ever since the Federal Reserve was formed. It was because of the Fed that the dollar has lost its purchasing power. That's what they claim. Okay? Whatever. Now, let me just explain one thing. Okay? And this is just a very simple thing. And you all, who has not seen this? This is one of the most common, one of the first arguments you're going to see by the gold pumpers out there. They're going to tell you that your dollar is lost 95% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created some 100 plus years ago. Is that not correct? You're always going to hear that, right? So, have you ever heard anybody debunk that? Anybody? Well, I've debunked it many years ago. You're never going to hear anybody debunk it because, well, folks, that's why I'm the big swinging fucking dick. That's why none of these fucking gold kingpin charlatans would ever go up against me on a neutral platform, because I debunk all their horse shit in a fucking instant and make it understandable to the dumbest fucking idiot out there on the street. So take a look at this chart. Think about this. Wow, the dollar's losing its value due to inflation, right? A dollar today is worth much less than it was a dollar 10 years ago, right? Makes sense. How can you argue against that? You can't, can you? Well, guess what, geniuses? Nobody takes their fucking dollars and puts them under their mattress for 100 fucking years and lets it sit there, do they? Gold is an asset. It's not fucking money. And what do you do? What do you do with money? You invest it. You put it in the fucking bank. At the very least, you can get a lot of interest over the years that's going to counteract that inflation. Okay? Risk-free. But guess what? You want to take a little risk? Buy some real estate. Tell me what that dollar is going to do in 100 years invested in real estate. Better yet, put it in the stock market. Tell me what it's going to do. You understand what I'm saying? They don't tell you that. Okay? They don't tell you that. They also don't tell you the fact that wages back in 1913 were a hell of a lot lower than they are today. $1 in 1913 is probably the same as $100 today. You understand? That's why you get wage increases. Inflation over time decreases the purchasing power of the dollar. That's why you put your fucking dollars in investments. That's why you get wage hikes, wage increases over the years. You never hear that. And you never hear anybody mention that. Right? You all have heard this for the first time now. This is one of hundreds of bullshit tactics that these con men use to steer the sheep into the fucking slaughterhouse and to buy gold from them, because they can charge all these huge commissions. And the big scam is where they want you to store it, where they're gonna charge you 1% per year of your fucking gold holdings. They're gonna take from you. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, Birch Gold right now is one of the big kingpins getting all these celebrities out there. I mean, folks, I can go ahead and tell you, Birch Gold ain't giving you a good deal. Think about it for a second. Think about it. You think I ever buy fucking Nike tennis shoes? I buy Nike tennis shoes when I'm in Asia, when they're fucking pirated shit. I'm not going to pay for Michael Jordan's fucking mansion. You understand? It's the same shit you're doing with Birch Gold. These guys are getting paid money. How do you think they're getting that money back? The same way FTX got their fucking money back when they paid Tom Nash and Kevin and Graham Stephan and all these other fraudsters. They got it back off your ass. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Not to mention the fact that Birch Gold and all these other gold companies, in my opinion, are engaging in fraud. They are defrauding people because they are getting pitchmen, influential pitchmen, to pitch their shit, to pitch mythology, to mislead people, to scare people, to deceive people, so they'll buy gold from them. In my book, that's fucking fraud. Okay. So you can go ahead and read all this horse shit, because I can tell you it gets pretty long. Remember, C. Bannon claims that he wrote this. Okay. So, I mean, think about this a second. Look at this. How the Fed eggheads make your wealth disappear by destroying the economy until the dollar is almost worthless. Wait a second. Wait a second here. Dollar's almost worthless? I mean, the dollar's only recently fucking slipped. And dollar's worthless? I mean, what are you talking about? Wait a second. Let's take a look here at the dollar. You know, you got these gold kingpins years, starting off with Peter Schiff, talking about hyperinflation, dollar's going to collapse, it's going to be worth basically nothing, right? Well, what's happened? Let's take a look at the dollar here. So how's the dollar going to be worthless? I showed you this chart. Let's take a look. U.S. dollar index. Now, you all know about the dollar, right? Generally speaking, for the most part, dollar goes up. Most of the time, most of the currencies go down, right? The currencies oppose the dollar. All other currencies in the world. Now, there's things that can make, a particular currency go up when the dollar goes up and vice versa. But generally speaking, right, you know why? Because the dollar fucking runs the show. Dollar runs the fucking show. You got it? You know why? Because America runs the fucking show. You got it? Right? Which, by the way, as I mentioned before in the past, don't ever let any fucking idiot out there tell you to buy a world index fund. You don't want no fucking world index fund. You don't need to bet on the world. You bet on the fucking empire. You bet on America. Okay? You want to bet on the Philippines? You want to bet on Ukraine, Russia, Zimbabwe, Kenya? You got it. You want to bet on their investment markets? Go for it. Okay? If you want international exposure, you got it with the S&P 500. 40 to 50% of the revenues of the S&P come from international operations. But guess what? They don't come from Ma and Pa shit show in Cambodia. They come from McDonald's in Cambodia. They come from Nike and Microsoft in Cambodia. You got it? Why do you think the developing world is developing? It's developing largely because of America. It's because of the advanced countries that have sent jobs overseas and technology transfer. You understand that? America runs the fucking world. It runs the show. No one comes close in terms of military, technology, innovation, education, right? And then on top of all of that, you've got the dollar that runs the whole fucking commodities industry. Every time somebody in China buys rice, that generates demand for the dollar. You know why? Because rice is settled on the commodities exchanges in dollars. Just like oil, just like gold, just like everything else. Okay. I wrote about this 20 fucking years ago, by the way. It doesn't even matter if the dollar's dethroned, which it's not going to be. It ain't going to be in our fucking lifetimes. I can guarantee you that. Okay. It doesn't even matter, though, because America runs the show. And the U.S. dollar is backed by the taxing authority of the U.S. government. You understand that? You got that, right? So let's take a look at the dollar index here. It's been weak lately because of this rate cut. So it's fallen a lot recently. But let's put that into perspective here. I think what's happened, because it's actually quite surprising how much it's fallen. I think what's happened is it was strong for so long that everybody jumped on the short trade for the dollar, right? Because the U.S. economy is still, relatively speaking, it's relatively strong, yet you've got the dollar has fallen against economies that are much weaker. Okay, so I don't see no collapse in the dollar. In fact, if you go back, ever since the financial crisis when the dollar was bottom, take a look. Remember, take a look at that. Take a look at that. The dollar is up very strong since the financial crisis. Remember, you had people out there, namely one guy who is apparently boozing it up all the time, named Peter Schiff, talk about hyperinflation. He went on hyperinflation for years, and everybody followed him. This is the gold pumping line. You're hearing about hyperinflation now, even some of these people talking about that. They don't tell you about hyperinflation that occurs in the shitholes that they recommend you invest in, like Argentina. They talk about hyperinflation in a country where it's virtually impossible to occur in, the U.S. You got it? Now, if you live in one of these destabilized second or third world countries, hyperinflation should be a concern. But if you live in a stabilized, advanced nation, especially the only superpower in the world, America, you ain't ever going to see hyperinflation. That's just fact. Okay? I mention this because, of course, this whole inflation thing. Number two, gold does not protect against inflation. It's not a hedge against inflation. Okay? It's not a hedge against inflation any more than rice or any other commodity. It just isn't. It's actually a better hedge against deflation than inflation. But that's the big thing you hear about. And in fact, let me just go ahead and show you something here while we're on that topic. Folks, you're not going to hear this anywhere else in the world, I can assure you, because not many people out there are knowledgeable enough and confident enough to go against the grain and tell you the fucking facts. Most people are followers. But when you're the big swinging dick, you're going to come out and tell people things they've never heard before. And you'll back it by any amount of fucking money because you know that you're right. Remember, I'm the guy that predicted the details of the financial crisis. I'm the guy that was recommending NVIDIA and has continued to every single fucking year since 2009. Before anybody had a fucking clue who they were. So I'm probably not some fucking chump off the street. Got it? I think you all got it. Let's take a look here. And let me show you gold while we're on the topic. Because, you always hear gold, oh, inflation's coming. Inflation's coming. Buy gold. Buy gold. And so what happens is that, the Peter Shifter's out there. Peter Shifter, the sissy fools out there, the gold pumpers have been waiting for this time all along, right? Some of you don't remember. You all don't know. All these guys pitching hyperinflation narrative all these fucking years, it kind of died off, and then kind of cryptocurrency took off. And I'm so happy. It's so funny to me. I love it. As much as I'm against cryptocurrency because it's kind of a criminal operation, but I love it that cryptocurrency has done something that the gold guys, the gold pumpers could never do. I love it. The gold pumpers tried so much, so hard many years ago, and they're still trying today to make gold mainstream. They've been trying for fucking decades with all their conspiracies and all their horse shit. And guess what? The cryptocurrency guys, they were able to make cryptocurrency mainstream pretty quickly. So I fucking love that. I think it's great. It's hilarious. Because you know what? The cryptocurrency guys, they didn't exactly, the whole pitch wasn't, I don't think the cryptocurrency pitch was fraudulent. I don't think people were sold on cryptocurrency based upon a bunch of horseshit and lies. I think there's some delusions and some misconceptions, and a lot of it's been, they've been lured into it because of the casino, which has been made into by Wall Street. In contrast to the gold kingpins that have been pitching gold based on false pretense and lies, which has caused people to miss out on tremendous wealth, which they could have obtained if they had put that money in the stock market. So I think it's hilarious. It's great that the cryptocurrency guys achieve what the gold kingpins could never do. And they must just fucking hate it. They hate it. Take a look at gold. I wanted to show you something. Because you're always hearing about how, inflation's coming, buy gold. Gold's a hedge against inflation, right? You all hear all that all the time. Well, let's take a look. Let's just take a look here and see if that's true. So remember when we had inflation? Let's take a look at a 5-year chart. Now, let's go back here. Now, this was the pandemic, right? You see gold. Gold popped in the pandemic. Gold rises during periods of crisis and uncertainty. It's a short-term place to park assets for institutions. Okay? That's what you see here. After that short-term period, it people get out of it. Institutions get out of gold. Also, central banks buy gold in order to protect their currency, right? So if their currency is in jeopardy of falling rapidly, what the central banks will do is they'll park money into gold. And once the currency collapses, they'll buy gold. They'll buy the currency. I mean, Russia's been doing this cyclically for quite a long time. So you see, after the, pretty much after the lockup in America ended, take a look. Gold peaked out in July, beginning of August. You think it's any coincidence that it peaked out then and started to come down? You got it? You understand what moves gold? Now, what happened a couple of years later? Well, we had now, you can see by, I think it was the consensus pretty much by fall of 2021 that we had a problem with inflation. And I believe inflation peaked out in June of 2022 at around 9% in the US, maybe a little higher. Okay. But you can see gold was not going up during this very high inflationary period. You would have thought they would have soared way past this period here. Gold, inflation was at a multi-decade high. What happened? Nothing. Because why? Because gold is driven by things other than inflation, folks. Okay, now there is some tie-in to inflation with gold, but it's mainly due to the implications of interest rate changes. Why? Because if there is inflation, right? If there is inflation, gold is not going to rise in many cases. There's many variables involved, so you can't really say, you can't make rules of what's going to happen, predictable rules. But generally speaking, folks, when interest rates are high, people don't want gold. Why? Because gold doesn't have any fucking dividend, has no return. Okay? Likewise, when interest rates come down, gold is a little more attractive. You see? So you can just take a look at this chart here. We had all this high inflation. What did gold do? It didn't do a whole lot. Okay? So I didn't even talk about the period after 1980, right? When gold collapsed after peaking out at about $800. It collapsed for about 20 plus years and did nothing, right? Did nothing. We can take a look at that chart right here. See that? No one talks about this. The gold guys, they'll give you selected periods to talk about. Take a look at this period here. Now, you all know what was going on in the 70s. We had two Middle Eastern oil crises. We had the 7-day war, was it, with Israel and, I don't know, Egypt, or I don't know. We had a conflict in the Middle East, right? But it was mainly the two oil crises we had, the Saudi, a lot of inflation in the U.S., and this was also, don't forget, this is also during the period when Nixon decoupled the dollar from gold, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on in the 70s. Let me move this here, and here we go. So during this time, and you might want to take a look, I mentioned the name Doug Casey in the previous stream. Some of you might know this charlatan. He's in the gold pumping circuit. He's just kind of a complete career con man. And he's, I would say he's probably got one foot in the grave. And I'll be celebrating when that does happen. Because I like it when evil, scammy, fucking swindlers die. I like that. It means innocent people aren't going to be defrauded by that person. You can go on, matter of fact, ScamTube, I can guarantee you, has got Phil Donahue. You can take a look at the Phil Donahue show. You can see Doug Casey was on there, and about when gold was at its peak, telling everybody he had written this book. Of course, Doug Casey's he's part of the group, so he gets promoted. He has this book floating out there, when everything's bad and everyone's scared about everything. Doug Casey's got his book, doom and gloom book, right? He tells everybody they got to buy gold. They should have 40% of their net worth in gold, right at the top, at the peak. All this horse shit. You can read the book. It's complete horse shit. Everything was wrong, just like Peter Schiff's fucking book. You got everything wrong. And take a look what happened. We had high inflation, but guess what? Gold went down, and it stayed down. It stayed down. Take a look. How many years? If you bought here, you don't have to buy it up here at 840 or whatever, 850. Buy somewhere around here. Let's say $600. You're down 30, 40, 50% for 20 years. And it gets worse. It gets even worse. It's down to $300 by the turn of the century. $250 even. How many people are going to hold on? I mean, remember, folks, most of the people buy gold around here. They're buying it here. Same thing in 2010. Late 2010, most of the people, just like NVIDIA, when Tom Nash is getting all his suckers telling them they can buy NVIDIA and never have to work again, several months ago, this is when NVIDIA was peaking out, and it collapses thereafter. You understand what I'm saying? When the suckers move in, you can predict the fucking collapse. That's how I predicted. I sold my gold and silver at the fucking peak when I saw Alex Jones and Max Kaiser move in on the short JP Morgan. Okay, so when you see this very rapid parabolic move, you know the bubble's going to burst. That's exactly what happened. So imagine. Remember, most people are going to get caught up here. This is the volume up here, I'm telling you. Imagine if you got caught there, what happened to you? This is 1980, 1981. Think about it. We're going now 20 fucking years later. Are you going to hold your gold? Are you going to be able to hold your gold for 20 years at these losses? Are you going to sell at some point? What are you going to do? You get no fucking dividends. How many people survived this? They got fucking destroyed. And take a look at gold. Went down to $200. Okay? Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Okay? Look at that. Only after the dot-com collapse, shortly after the gold bull market began. I was all over that. I was working at Bear Stearns. I made the call. In late 2001, I started getting people into gold. Okay? But take a look. You're talking about how many years before you break even? How many years? Right? And it's not adjusted for inflation, by the way. Remember, you bought gold. If you bought gold back here, you're holding it for 30 fucking years. That's inflation eating away it. It's not paying any dividend. So the inflation adjusted price is probably, right here actually. It's probably, I would say, at least 1,200. Okay, at least you can. I'm sure you can go on some sites and figure it out. So think about that. Okay, that's why you want to be careful. Gold ain't no investment. It's an investment transaction. Okay, and you don't want to be stuck in gold when it has a downturn because it can last for a fucking lifetime. You see, and it pays no fucking dividends. Now, interestingly, one of the easiest calls, and I've been a very accurate predictor of gold for many years. Very accurate, probably 85, 90%. And one of the easiest calls I made was many months ago, calling the bull market, the recent bull market in gold. And it's going higher. And it's quite simple. It's because of the Chinese. It's one of the easiest calls I've ever made. It's because of the Chinese. I've known this for quite a long time. because I've known what's going on in the Chinese economy, you see. But it ain't going to last forever, especially if they get more stimulus out. The more stimulus they actually correct their problem, which their stimulus is not really going to do, I don't think. It's too much monetary, not enough fiscal. But once their real estate problem is corrected, it could be a big smackdown for gold. You see? Bottom line, folks, is gold ain't an investment. You want to invest in gold, do what I'm doing. You know what I did to invest in gold, to invest in this bull market? A few months ago, I bought Newmont Mining, or Newmont Corp, they call it now, at $30, $31. That's the safe way. You invest in a blue chip. None of that other bullshit, Barrick and all that horse shit. Newmont's the king. They pay a dividend. They're a solid company. You understand? And you're not paying no fucking gold dealer commission. You don't have to worry about liquidity. Or you can buy GLD. But of course, you know, the gold frauds, they got their conspiracy horseshit. They're going to tell you, oh, the ETF is not backed by gold. I don't give a shit. Shut your fucking face and get out of my way. Right? So let me show you here. Just more of the stuff. This is just volume 1. Right? Money printing, and they talk about quantitative easing. Take a look. They talk about quantitative easing, printing money. Part 2. Just find it online. The world dumps dollars. All this complete horse shit. Okay? I mean, take a look. Once again, volume 3, the debt trap. Debt doesn't fucking matter. Okay? Doesn't fucking matter if you print your own currency, especially if you're an advanced country, especially if you're America. All right? I'm not even going to get into that. So this is, so they want to talk here about, the contingent liabilities, right? Which I wrote about 20 fucking years ago. Everybody's stealing my material. Okay. Folks, all you got to ask yourself is, like, why aren't they showing you talk about the stock market, right? And then you've got even volume 4, all this shit. So remember, here's the key thing. Supposedly Steve Bannon wrote this. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't write this. It's a lie. This is fraud. This is written by some fucking hack working at Birch Gold. You understand? Birch Gold doesn't want to put their name on this because if they do, they can more easily be sued for fraud. So instead, they pay Steve Bannon. And of course, not only that, but Steve Bannon has obviously a wider reach, and you've got stupid people who are going to believe this guy, even though he's been convicted of fucking fraud from the GoFundMe thing. He's been, he was tied into Miles Kwok, right? The Chinese so-called supposedly billionaire who defrauded people of $1 billion, who's now in jail in the U.S. fucking prison. You see? So this is kind of the epitome. I haven't seen any other person actually claim to have written something, this horse shit from Birch Gold. They've actually got him on some little ebook publication crap to pitch the whole gold horse shit. So this is what you talk about, folks, when you're exposing the gold pumpers. And I don't, exposing these guys like the talking heads, the endorsement guys, that's like low level shit. This is low level shit, I'll be honest with you. I've exposed the deeper stuff. Okay? This is low level stuff. But even this, I mean, you're not going to get anybody exposed to this extent because they don't know what the hell is going on. You got people like Scott Schaefer who calls the whatever these websites a scam because they don't post the price that they're selling. Listen, they don't have to post the price that they're selling a coin for. Why? Because gold prices change. They may not have it in their inventory. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. That's not a scam. A scam is when you are pitching something and getting somebody to call in, offering something, and you do a bait and switch or something else. That's what I'm talking about, folks. You just got. I could have made a fortune, if you can imagine, pitching gold, because I actually recommended gold many years ago, but I recommended to have an exit strategy, and to not buy physical gold. See, that's where that's what separates me, is I know the physical gold, the gold dealers are going to fucking rip you off. You don't want to do that. Buy the gold ETFs. You trade it. Gold is very volatile. You see, you want to trade that volatility. You don't just fucking buy and hold it. That's stupid. You don't want to do that. The only time you want to do that is when it's clearly in a bull market. But many times it's not in a clear bull market. You see? I'm not going to talk about any forecast on gold or anything like that. I already gave you guys enough information right there. I'm not going to mention anything about that. That's my research. That's my intellectual property. Okay. The point, though, is to show you guys gold is the last thing you want to be buying as an investment. Okay. It's just not a good investment. It's only a good investment if you're in a shithole. If you live in a shithole country with a very destabilized situation. Okay, if you're in Venezuela, it might be pretty good to have gold. If you're in Argentina, it might be pretty good to have gold, right? If you're in many of these other countries, it might be pretty good to have gold. You'll note many countries in Asia, they buy gold. That's tradition. Why? Why do you think a lot of these countries in Asia buy gold, aside from tradition? You know why? Because they can't trust their fucking banking system, because they've had so many banking failures throughout history. And they don't really have much in terms of guarantees. See, they don't have like an FDIC that's going to guarantee every account a large amount of money. They have small guarantees. So the banks are very mistrusted in many of these countries. Okay. So basically, if you are privileged enough to be living in a country that's stable, it's advanced, then gold should not be on your fucking list to have, other than for jewelry or something like that. I mean, I had gold coins. I used to collect gold coins, silver coins. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't plan on making money off the coins, because chances are pretty slim. It's probably not going to happen for the most part. It's very difficult. Okay. Unless, I made money off mine only because, I bought them. I bought my gold and silver coins back in, early 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. You see? So gold went up so much that, yeah, of course you're going to make money. But, the coins are pretty cool. The silver are much cooler than the gold ones. I mean, right? So I'm just saying, folks, the problem is they scare people with all this horse shit, all this mythology. And I already showed you guys, the chart of gold and how it's not necessarily a hedge against inflation. If you want to hedge against inflation, there's many other things I can think of to buy, okay, that are going to be better investments. One thing is real estate. Real estate's a great hedge against inflation. Just ask any renter out there over the past few years. Anybody that's renting a house or an apartment, you ask them over the past few years what the hell happened to their rent as inflation soared. You think their rent didn't go up? So the only other thing I'll say is, you want to buy gold and silver as an investment. You got a lot of time on your hands. You wait till nobody wants it, then you can buy it. When nobody wants it, you see, you don't want to be buying it when everybody wants it. You see, time to be buying gold really as an investment was a long time ago. I mean, as an investment, even I bought some gold investments a few years ago, but I got out of them and then I got back in, say little last year and then this year, right? But it's not really an investment. It's kind of investment, say, strategy, right? I would never buy gold, pure gold, as an investment. See, here's the thing. They get people in this mindset. This is the big problem that nobody understands, the psychology. What these people do is they feed you this narrative where it's all backed by the dollar's worthless, the Federal Reserve did all this, and here's what they do, and all this horse shit, because they get you to buy gold and never fucking sell it. That's the big danger. They don't want you to sell it. You see? And so you don't have an exit strategy. You want an exit strategy with gold. You got to have an exit strategy with gold and silver. But you see, you've got these guys that believe this mythology, and so they never sell it. And at some point, they're going to get caught. You see, when they want to sell it and they can't because it's down too much relative to when they bought it. That's the main problem, is they get people in this mentality, don't understand gold. They fall for all these conspiracies and all this horse shit. You see, that's the big problem. And of course, 20 years ago, well, I'll say not 20, about, let's say 30 years ago, there was no gold ETFs, right? 20 years ago, I'd say 20 is about when the first one was launched, around that time, maybe about 22 years ago. Imagine when there's no gold ETFs, right? You've got ETFs now. Perfect vehicle for gold, because gold is very volatile, right? It's very volatile. You want to take advantage of that volatility, okay? You don't want to hold it. You want an exit strategy, because there's times to be in gold and times you don't want to be in gold, right? You didn't want to be in gold after 2011. If you were in gold after 2011, you got fucked. You got fucked for another 10 years. You had to wait another 10 years to break even if you bought it in 2010, 2011. 10 fucking years, right? You understand? And you'll have another period like that at some point. It's going to happen. At some point it'll happen. I don't know when, but it will happen. I don't know where it'll bottom. There'll be a period where it's doing jack shit, and someone's going to be stuck in it because they don't understand how it operates, how it works. And a lot of this stuff is dictated by the crowd effect, right? Who do you think creates all this horse shit? Gold would be a lot better off if you didn't have all these scam artists pumping it. In fact, I wrote an article back in 2009 talking about how gold is in a bubble and it's going to pop. And it's unfortunate because I think it could stay in a bull market for quite a long time if it weren't being manipulated into this bubble. But instead, it was pumped up into a bubble and it popped, just like I predicted. And I actually predicted it. I wrote an article. I predicted it would soar to $1,500 to $2,000, pop, and go down big time and stay down for many years. I was exactly right. They don't want you to know this stuff, folks. Why? The commission. Okay? Why do you think people like Peter Schiff hate cryptocurrencies? Because Peter Schiff can't make money selling you cryptocurrency. He can only make money for himself selling you gold. If he pitches cryptocurrency, he can't fill up his fucking pockets. You understand? These gold kingpins, they tell you all this horse shit that's not true about gold ETFs. You know why? Because they can't make money if you buy a gold ETF. They can only make money if you buy physical gold from them or their fucking buddies. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to have gold unless they're a criminal. I mean, gold has historically been used to launder money by criminals. It still is. Why would anybody want to hold a bunch of fucking gold like you're responsible for keeping it safe? Where are you going to put it? You can put it in your house. You can hide it somewhere. Somebody can steal it. Then what happens? Well, okay, you got to have it stored. That's where the new grift comes in. You can store it with this. They'll tell you, oh, we got an offshore place in case the government wants to confiscate your gold. The complete gold. The government's never going to fucking confiscate anybody's gold. That's a bunch of bullshit. Not in America anyway. They want to tell you all this horse shit. So you store your gold with some fucking company, and they get paid anywhere between 50 to 100 basis points, 0.5% to 1% of the value of your gold every fucking year. Think about that. I mean, why do you need to rob a fucking bank if you've got a legal business that can do that? You understand the danger now of disinformation and scammers manipulating people? Why commit crimes, like flat out crimes, when you can engage in scams that you can get away with? You see, there's no need to rob a bank anymore. Why would you want to rob a bank? You can make more money and do it legally on YouTube, right? It's important to know, to put into context of who you're listening to. So when I say something, you can write it down and take it to the fucking bank. And the second thing I'll tell you is that these videos, you better go ahead and save, because this channel is going to be gone. It'll be taken down. You mark my words. It'll be taken down. So save these videos, because I'm not going to be around forever. I'll be gone in a few months. I'm going to enjoy my life. I don't need this shit. Raise my blood pressure. So you guys can carry on and keep the videos and spread around. I can tell you that's what the best thing is to do. Best thing you people can do out there. Some of you already know the song and dance. And it's not just for me. It's for anybody. You know, it's amazing. There should be a course taught in high school, starting maybe from junior high, on how to think, how to process information in this modern world, right? I don't know why people are not told, look, the first thing you have to do now, these days, is you have to look into who you're listening to. What's the credibility of the person that you're listening to, right? What's the credibility? What's their track record? How are they qualified to be talking about things that they're talking about? You see? That's the first, most basic thing. And people apparently they don't think about that. That's common sense. It wasn't something that was a problem in the past before the internet, but now with the internet, you've got every single fucking jughead thinks they're an expert. And I had people telling me, you know, they want to tell me that they know more about investments than me, like just amateur investors. I mean, I kid you not. You know, I learned not to talk to people a long time ago because everyone thinks they're a fucking expert in everything. Well, guess what? I spent my whole fucking life becoming an expert in things that I focus on. I am an expert in several areas. And I know what I don't know. When I don't know something, I'll fucking admit it. I don't know it. I stay away from it. Okay? But you see, everybody thinks they're a fucking expert because of the internet. They're consuming horseshit content. And they think because they spend so much time and effort learning something They think they've learned something. They think they're an expert. They have expertise. Well, maybe you do at the coffee table. But when you're dealing with a real fucking expert, sit down and take notes and be lucky that you're getting that information for free. Of course, that situation is such a rarity, I think, these days. It's pretty damn rare. It's all about flooding you with quantity, folks. The internet has created a new business model. It's quantity flooding, quantity content. They want to flood you with quantity content. Why? The more content, the more they can tag the ads. Ads, money, ads, money. The more quantity, the more difficult it is for you to filter through the real information. This is why only surround yourself with high level, high yield, truly high yield, high level content. Stay away from the bullshit, and bullshit is everywhere you fucking turn. I mean, the best way really is to stay off the internet. To be honest, stay the fuck off the internet. So, save the videos, upload them on your own channels. This channel will be gone within a year, guaranteed. And I certainly won't be here in a year. I'm moving on. I'm enjoying my fucking retirement. Okay, in my fucking wonderful world. I mean, my life, guys, is fucking wonderful. I don't, talking about these frauds, exposing these frauds. You can tell in my speech pattern. It brings stress to me because it pisses me off. My life is fucking amazing. My life is fucking awesome. It's wonderful. It's spectacular. I can't even tell you how awesome it is. So I'm not going to be allowing my life to be consumed by this shit forever. I'll say my piece and I'm going to move on. See? But while I'm here, you got the opportunity to contact these motherfuckers. And I'm not even talking about the fraudsters like Tom Nash or these idiots. They're obviously, I mean, what are they going to do? They're infants compared to me. Come on. It's like fucking child's play. Right? They're used to dealing with, you go contact the kingpins. All the kingpins who have their whole group of people that they work with. All these guys. The guys that have this big reach, they won't fucking come near me because they know they'll get their ass slapped into reality with the facts and they'll be exposed for the frauds that they are. Whether it's dildo airhead dummy, Patrick Bet David, the guy is such a fucking idiot. And I know he listens to me, by the way. I know he's seen videos that I've taken him down. I know for a fact. He'll run chicken shit for me. All these guys. Because they know I know the whole deal. The guys that you think that they're gonna interview the controversial guys. How about interviewing the guy that predicted the financial crisis? It was banned. The guy was called before the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission. The kangaroo fucking court after the financial crisis. They called up all the experts and asked them why it occurred. I was interviewed for that, and they didn't call me up in front of Congress when I told them why this occurred. I won't tell you my answer here, because if I tell you the answer, ScamTube will take down the video. See, Congress didn't want, this could not be allowed. What I should have done is I should have lied. I should have lied and then made my way to testify in front of Congress for this FCIC committee, the kangaroo court. And once I was there, I should have fucking spilled the beans, because then they couldn't do anything. Then it would be already public record. That's what they didn't want. They didn't want it to be public record. You understand? How about interviewing this guy? Huh? I'd say I'm big big enough to be fucking interviewed by anybody. The biggest fucking guys. I've got a story to tell. How come nobody wants to hear my story? Right? How come nobody wants to hear my fucking story? I got the proof. Take a look at my goddamn books. Right there, you can see. You want to hear what happened to me? Let's hear what happened to me. Let's hear about Robin Blumenthal, senior editor at Barron's, who had me on the phone in 2010 and basically was asking me if I was supportive of Israel as a way to kind of vet me, whether or not to interview me and talk about my book and my predictions in the financial crisis. Yeah, that's right. I've talked about that before, and I still got the fucking emails. Folks, I got so many stories, okay? How about talking about the only guy who truly predicted the financial crisis in print, allowed anybody in the world to make a fucking fortune. Nobody did that but me. The same guy who was interrogated by the FDA Terrorist Division after he submitted a complaint to the Securities and Exchange Commission alleging that Washington Mutual was illegally seized. That's right. I've told that story many times. Some of you have heard the story. I'd say that's a pretty interesting fucking guy to interview. You understand what I'm saying, folks? I know the song and dance. Nobody's ever going to want to talk to me because they knew from the very beginning I'm a dangerous person. Dangerous to them, to the criminals, because I'm honest and I'm fucking sharp. You understand? That's what they saw in the beginning. And that's why I was shut down. And the amazing thing that's funny is that, if I weren't shut down from the beginning, maybe I would have been distracted and not seen all that I see now. But, boy, you better believe this has enabled me to see what's going on. And I know things better than anybody out there because I've lived it for years. You can go online right now and find the Washington Mutual complaint. Take a look right now. I mean, I can find it right now. It's on my website, but I'm sure you can find it if you do the right search. You can find the complaint. And I contacted this bitch, Gretchen Morgensen, fucking cunt, who was covering banks and stuff. Folks, I'm telling you, you all don't even know. I've got emails. They ignored it. I had one guy from, where did he work? One guy from, I forgot where. His name was Pittman. Pittman was his name. And he told me, he said, I'm scared. I'm too old. I'm telling you. In the SEC, you can see that October 7, 2008, just days after this happened, okay? The SEC motherfuckers, I'm the one that gave them the idea to install a whistleblower program. I gave a list of recommendations at the end of my report. You see, recommended directives. They didn't have a whistleblower program before me, by the way, folks. You could look into that. That's goddamn fact. You can just read this here, okay? I didn't release this to the public until a year later because of the intimidation from the feds. I already told the story. Look, I got so many fucking, you all don't even know, man. You all don't know. You don't know. All you got to do is read the original version, the 2006 version of America's Financial Apocalypse. And you see what's going on today, the trade issue. I warned about that. I explained it all Even when it was in its early stages, I saw what was going on. And I warned about every single fucking aspect of that. From the Chinese grad students coming into America, stealing our technology, going back home, to the technology transfer, to China going into Mexico with their products to evade tariffs, to the back door, and they're doing it again now. All the shit I did. Why do you think I was banned? Why do you think I was fucking banned? Okay? I am the real fucking deal. The absolute real fucking deal. And I paid the fucking price. That's why I just say fuck off, everybody. I don't give a shit no more. So, folks, I recommend you save these videos and you upload them. Okay? Because this channel will be gone. And I certainly won't be here past this year, most likely. And so at least some of you are going to know. Some people will get it. Very few will get it. Much less than 1% will get it. Probably 0.1%. And then you'll have some that might start to get it. Will be, I know how it works, of course. Will be, they'll be like, oh, he cusses too much. Oh, he sounds too mean. I don't like you understand? Like the typical idiots who fall for the con artist tactics. That I don't pull any punches. I just come across real as I feel. You see? Because people don't even know, folks. People don't know what really happened during the financial crisis. If they knew what happened during that time, they would have tore down the fucking country. Okay? It was absolute fucking fraud. And it's going to happen again. And it's going to keep happening. You know why? Because the same criminals get away with the crime. The system is set up so nothing happens to them. Because you've got a complete takeover of America, of the Western world, by a criminal mafia. And their buddies are the same people who are running the court system, running the legal system, running the politicians. So obviously they're getting away with everything. You understand? And it's not going to get any better. I mean, just open your fucking eyes if you can see. And start to notice some things and write some things down. You think I don't know what's going on? Anybody out there think I don't know what's going on? All the stuff that I've done? You think I can't see what's going on in front of my fucking eyes? Like I'm able to forecast things and see things that other people can't see, and you think I can't actually see what's going on? Are you fucking serious? This is the easy shit. It's the easy fucking shit. The funny thing is, once again, I've told this before, I wasn't aware of all these things before I was banned. I was blackballed early on. I was not aware. And I only found out after I was banned, after I started making all the connections. Wall Street and media, and open your eyes and you start to notice things. You start to see. You start to observe. And you're like, holy shit. I didn't know anything before. You see? That's the funny thing. So, if I had not gone through what I went through, maybe I would not know. I wouldn't know. Maybe. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, I don't know how I couldn't know now. I mean, Jesus Christ, every year it gets more obvious what's going on. If you have a memory, you just go back and you remember what's going on. I mean, take a look. Folks, you need to start observing things, okay? When you see people who are promoted excessively and you say, wait a second, who the fuck is that? Why are they promoting this person? Take a close look who they are, okay? When you see all these fund managers you hear about, take a close look for a common theme there. And you tell me, show me, how many fund managers can you name to me that don't have this common link? Not a whole lot. I can't think of many. Actually, I can't think of any offhand. And then you take a look in the media. Not just financial media, but you can go ahead and take a look at the financial media. And I can't reveal everything here, obviously. I can't. If I start revealing kind of the exceptions and what's actually going on and how there's actually links there, then I can't talk about it on ScamTube, unfortunately. But I've talked about it elsewhere before. I know exactly what's going on. Okay. It's pretty shocking when you live in a world now where you have people defrauding you and discriminating against you. That's what's happened to me. I've been defrauded, discriminated against, and I can't name the criminal, the villain. If I do, I'm a racist. That's pretty bizarre, don't you think? When the criminals have this protection they can always run to, isn't that bizarre? Think about that for a second. You've got a get out of jail free card that you can always use that turns the victim into the villain, right? You got the victim turned into the fucking villain when they name the criminal. When they identify the mafia, and all of a sudden the victim is the villain. Isn't that an amazing thing, an amazing power to have? Think about that, folks. And everybody knows about it. Everybody with an IQ over fucking 85, which ain't asking a whole lot except for on YouTube, of course. The average IQ on YouTube is below 80. Everybody with an IQ above 85 knows this by now. But guess what? They're all fucking scared to talk about it. They've made everybody scared to say anything. They're scared they'll lose their job. Right? And you've got, we've got a good example here in terms of intimidation. You've got Bill fucking stock manipulator Ackman, the piece of fucking trash who, I'll tell the story again. I told it a couple of years ago. Story about Bill, I had Bill Ackman on the telephone, basically panicking during the financial crisis, asking me how he can get a copy of my fucking book. That's right. It's a fucking fact. In fact, I showed the email. I've got the email follow-up to Ackman still. I showed that on one of my live streams. But bringing up this guy is a great example of intimidation, intimidating people to talk. What this guy recently did, right, at Harvard, when you had all these students protest Israel's genocide activities in Palestine, that they were, people were against that. And what did he do? He comes out and he basically threatens to make sure they don't get a job. He wants to know who they are. He wants to target them. Can you believe that? Folks, that gives you an example of what's going on. Except Bill Ackman exposed the MO. You see, he exposed what's actually going on behind the scenes. He came out and explicitly showed you. You understand? That's what goes on. That's why nobody is going to talk about it. They're too afraid. Guess what? Nobody owns me. I'm not fucking afraid. I've already sacrificed plenty. You understand? Everybody else out there who's not talking about it's afraid. You're going to have to live with that. The problem is some of the people who are not, who kind of don't associate themselves with this mafia, but are blood related. The problem is that they don't say anything. You see, they either don't say anything or they protect them. That's the big problem. Instead of them distancing themselves from them and calling them out. There's not enough people that do that. You see, because, you talk about a very strong tribal association, you get in deep trouble. But, that's what needs to be done. The most that's happened is, of course, disassociation from, let's say, their motherland. But that's a whole separate issue as far as I'm concerned. Talking about their motherland versus talking about the mafia in America, there's two different things. Two different things. Although there's obviously some connection. You got a lot of money funneling over there. A lot of the money, if you can imagine, that's being defrauded, extorted from the industries that they run in America, going over there, in addition to buying off Congress and allowing, and resulting in billions of dollars going over there every year in free money. The cash money is, I don't know what it is now. It's got to be at least $4 billion every year cash. But then if you factor in everything, all of the economic special contracts and all this other bullshit, if you factor the monetary value of what they're getting free every year, it's easily over $10 billion, probably close to $20 billion every fucking year of taxpayer money. And that's just from taxpayer money, not to mention the funding that they're getting from their loyal tribesmen. And this is why you've got the situation that you have, just brutal murdering of people that's been going on for decades. It's been going on for fucking decades. Right? I mean, you want an investment tip? Well, I'll tell you one thing right now. If you haven't already noticed it, easy way to make money is if you don't care about, you don't have any moral issues, just buy the defense companies, right? That's all you got to do. It's funny, by the way. I saw something the other day with which I forgot how I saw it, but I saw something that led me to realize that Steve Bannon was behind Cambridge Analytica, right? The now defunct company, the consulting company that was involved in election manipulation with Facebook. And I saw something about that, and I also saw something else. Guess what? Guess who else was involved with Cambridge Analytica and manipulation of election results? Palantir. Fucking scam company, Palantir. Okay? And by the way, that just kind of brings me to the point to mention this company. Of course, people don't care, uh, but you're talking about a company that profits off of basically war and killing people. I mean, that's what they're involved in, right? So anything that Peter Thiel's got his hands on, anything he's involved with, is fucking toxic, right? Toxic, toxic, toxic. This guy's a sociopath, as far as I'm concerned. And apparently, I don't pay attention to politics, but apparently, he's the guy that put this J.D. Vance guy there with Trump. And J.D. Vance, from what I can tell, is a fucking idiot. He's a useful fucking idiot, complete failure. He's there to be manipulated by Peter Thiel and his little buddies. Right? I mean, folks, look, there's no real choice. It doesn't really matter if you're in America. I mean, you say, okay, well, at least with Trump, maybe we get the borders closed. It's gotten so bad in America now that people are willing to settle for that, right? Think about that for a second. It's gotten so bad in America that, you know, if you convince people that, hey, you know what? Trump is playing on the same game, on the same side as all these other people. Trump is a fraud. He's full of shit. But you do know that it's gotten so bad that something's got to be done with the border, right? And Trump will probably do something, right? The situation is so bad in America now that people they're willing to settle for something as basic, as fundamental as closing the border. In other words, that should not even be part of the argument. That should be a norm, right? That should be just kind of regardless who wins. So by doing that, people are so much further away from getting things that they need. Like, for instance, affordable health care, which is never going to fucking happen in America. That's just a dream, right? Not to mention jobs, right? Bringing the jobs back. I talked about how that was a fraud with Trump. It was never going to happen. Trump didn't do it. I mean, remember, folks, any of you Trump supporters out there, remember, what was Trump's maybe his number one pledge? What was Trump's number one pledge? Arguably, let's say top three, certainly top three. Wasn't it investigate Hillary? Wasn't it he was going to investigate Hillary, right? He was going to go after Hillary, right? Investigate Hillary. That was a big thing. He didn't do it, did he? He didn't do it. Why? Because he and Hillary are on the same fucking side, folks. All these guys are on the same fucking team. Okay, I'm telling you. They're on the same team. All of them. Okay? On the same fucking team. It's like the media. One network has this slant, the other one has this slant. It's all bullshit. It's like Washington. Democrat, Republican, they're all the same fucking team. You understand? They're fooling people. Okay? It's gotten so bad now, though, that, I mean, even myself, if I were to vote, which I never would, I wouldn't support a completely fraudulent system. America's political system is a complete fraud. Haven't voted since Ross Perot. That was the only choice in my lifetime, was Ross Perot. And he warned about NAFTA. He was right. Haven't voted since then. I'll never vote again. I would say, though, that it's so bad in America now that I'd probably consider voting just because it's gotten to the level just to close the border. It's such a it's beyond fucking crisis. I can't even explain what it is. But think about that. People are so focused on that because it's gotten so out of hand for so long that they don't even know, they don't even understand they can't afford health care. They don't even know that their living standards have gone down. And I'm not talking about recently. I'm talking about over generations. Why? Well, if you read my fucking book, you'd know it. Because of free trade. Trump didn't bring the jobs back. He was never going to bring the jobs back. I talked about that years ago. He said he was going to, but notice what he talked about during the trade negotiations with China. It became focused on one thing and one thing only. Ensuring the protection of intellectual property, right? That was the focus. Making sure China did not take the intellectual property from corporate America. But guess what? If you're bringing the jobs back, China can't take the intellectual property. Okay? They can't do it. You understand? There was never any intention of bringing the jobs back. Only now is there some type of a movement to bring some jobs back only because of national security. Okay? It's only because of national security. It's not because of what Trump wants. Trump is with Wall Street, right? He's with Wall Street. The point is, you don't vote. That's how you make your mark. You don't fucking vote. That's the only way. When few enough people vote, then the world's going to take notice. When they see 20% of Americans only voting, then they're going to realize there's something wrong. Okay? But you see, the system now is in place, so it's so sophisticated now that they've controlled everything. And just think about, I mean, the words I'm telling you now. I mean, I've been saying this for many years. It hasn't changed, right? So if I've been saying this for many years, then surely there's other people that understand this as well. Why hasn't that gotten out in a widespread manner? Why hasn't someone come out and said this? Why hasn't been someone to come out and educate people in terms of the real issues? You understand? Because all these people out there, they care about what's going to keep them in the gravy train. You see? How come you never heard about all this stuff? I wrote it, folks. You want to see what's happened to America, okay? You want to see the problems. I wrote about it nearly 20 years ago, and it hasn't changed, okay? It ain't changed. In fact, that book is a fucking crystal ball, not just for the financial crisis, but you can see a crystal ball in terms of the trade, in terms of healthcare, everything else. And it's not going to change. It isn't going to change. You see, that's why I was banned. It's too powerful of a truthful portrayal of the country. And this is why, Occupy Wall Street was I think that was the only chance the country had. That was it. When that fizzled, it was over. It was the only real grassroots movement, people who had had enough. And once the people in that movement got too close to the source, they identified, they realized, hey, Wall Street, the Federal Reserve, wait a second here. Wait a second. They started seeing who really controls things, and that's when it got shut down. Okay? And as I mentioned in the stream before, I didn't realize exactly what happened to have it shut down, because Occupy Wall Street was a huge deal. It was huge. Every day there was coverage about it. And all of a sudden, one day, it just kind of disappeared. And I realized after I actually found it on ScamTube, I saw what happened. I knew they had been subverted. They had been infiltrated by the enemy and taken down, which is what usually happens. You know, if you got somebody, usually they'll bribe them, they'll pay them off, or they'll frame them. And I saw exactly what happened on ScamTube. When I saw actually a video of this guy, I forgot the guy's name. He's in one of my videos, you know, when I show you how fucked up America is, how fucked up the West is. How do you want to escape? Get the fuck out of the West. It's finished. I show that guy, that racist guy, the professor who's deceased now, who wanted to exterminate all the white people, right? You know that guy? This Marxist psychopath who said there's no white race, but there's a black race and there's all other races, but the white race doesn't exist. We want to exterminate, you know, he wanted to basically wants all white people exterminated. Of course, that's okay to say because, you know, it's okay for him to say, you know. Anyway, that guy was one of the many people who was a speaker at one of the Occupy Wall Street movement. He was a speaker there, by the way. And then I mentioned that I looked at apparently, what is it? The Zinn Foundation, ZINN. I forgot what it is. They were involved. They got involved and they had their people there. So that's what happened. They had these foundations, these groups, you know who's behind them, kind of subvert them. That's what happened to Occupy Wall Street. And that happened only after some of the people from the Occupy movement started to come out and tell people, hey, you know, we understand who controls these groups. This is what's going on. You see? And I'll tell you right now, I've never really cared too much about kind of, I don't know, 20th century history. Hasn't really been my thing. I'm more into ancient history. But 20th century history to me is kind of boring, I guess because it's too close to me, you know. But I'll tell you right now, I'm starting to look into things, and it's pretty fascinating to see a lot of these things you're told are not true. I'd heard about that, and now I'm starting to see it for myself. It's pretty shocking, actually. Kind of leads you to believe, well, how far does this go back into history, right? I think it goes back quite a long time, by the way. If you all know what I'm talking about, it's pretty shocking. If you go back, you know, you can go back in history, think about the turning events, the events that really shaped the modern world, shaped modern America. I would have to say, you know, I would say events back in 1930s, right? 1940s. That period, I think there's a lot of disinformation and lies that have been propagated. Never really cared about that period at all. I'm starting to look into it now. It's pretty shocking, actually. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who already know. But you see, the difference is I never really had an interest. You see? I never really had any interest at all. You know, if you control the press, by the way, hey, you write the history. Remember, the victors write the history, right? If you control all forms of media, Think about that for a second. If it was possible for let's kind of imagine it were possible for some group out there to control all media. Imagine what the implications would be for the human race. Think about that. Your value system, your perception of reality would be based upon what that group was telling you, was broadcasting, was publishing. It's really scary when you think about the internet because, of course, we're in a transition period now. Everyone living today is in a transition period, if you think about it, right? Even though the internet's been around for, I don't know, 3 decades, let's say. From a practical standpoint, let's call it 25 years, okay? It's transition. Because why? Because still there's a lot of printed media out there. You still do have old encyclopedias out there, old dictionaries in libraries, right? Where you can go and look up what was said about certain events, what certain terms, how they were defined in dictionaries, in past decades. And you will see, if you go to your library, you're going to be fascinated, I think, and shocked to see how different definitions of certain terms have changed over the years, over the decades, or what was written about certain events or even certain people in the encyclopedias of, say, the 1920s versus the 1940s versus the 1960s versus the 1980s, right? My point is that we're in a transition period now because you still have some of that out there, that older printed material as evidence, let's say, call it evidence. But think about in the future decades, you're not going to have that printed material other than, say, the Smithsonian Institution, right, or museums, such that basically everything is going to be in the hands of digital publishing. You understand what I'm saying? Essentially, we're talking about the complete rewriting of anything potentially in history because it's so easy to do living in a digital world. That's why we're in a transition period right now, you see. But in future decades, in future generations, it's finished. There will be no way for those people to uncover the truth. If, in fact, of course, history will have been rewritten, right? Think about that. It's a very, this is the last kind of transition period here. Future generations, it's going to be done. I mean, think about it. You've already got these kids. Many of you guys, you grew up being told to look at Wikipedia. There's no more encyclopedias. It's Wikipedia. I mean, can you fucking believe that? It's Wikipedia. And of course, when you have kids, they're going to be told to ask their AI bot, right? So it's pretty much done. It's pretty much over, folks. It's pretty much over. When you control the media, you control the minds of the masses, right? You control the minds of the masses. The control of the media is even more important, even more influential than the control of the money. You hear people talk about the banks. The media is much more powerful. Much more powerful. Think about it. If you control the media, you could do things such as convince a country that some guy in Iraq has got weapons of mass destruction. You can convince that country enough to the people support a war that kills 2 million innocent people in that country. It spends trillions of dollars of taxpayer money establishing permanent military bases in the Middle East to basically protect some rogue country there. You understand? If you control the media, you can convince the population that the 2008 financial crisis was just greed. There was no malicious, intentional fraud going on. It was just greed because the Wall Street guys are greedy. And by the way, it was also because they're drug addicts. That's what the media said. Because you see, if it's due to greed or drugs, you can't be charged for fraud because the intent is no longer there. Oh, but I forgot. There was this one guy who remains to be unnamed because he's been blackballed from the media ever since he tried to get his books out there, who actually wrote about the fraud in advance and predicted the financial crisis. He wrote what was going on. How is that possible? How did he know? Once again, folks, save the videos because I can assure you this channel will be down. It will be taken down. They'll find a way. They'll find an excuse. Save the videos. Repost them. And by the way, let me just mention, ScamTube has a little trick. Some of you may know it. If they want to, they can actually, if they want to ban a video, they can do so. You won't be able to upload it again. It'll be recognized. So if that's the case, you would have to modify the video somehow. Maybe from the beginning or the end. FYI. Remember, folks, if people out there aren't talking about the issues that are really important, right? I mean, the border issue obviously is a fucking critical emergency. But, okay, let's fix that. And now let's talk about healthcare. Why are most Americans, why are most of the bankruptcies in America every year due to the failure to pay medical bills? And why is it that most of those people that file for medical bankruptcy, that's more than 50% of all U.S. bankruptcies every year, by the way, you can look it up. Now, don't quote me on that because last time I checked it was about 15 years ago, but I would say that statistic has not changed. Why is it that most of those people who file for medical bankruptcy, which is once again more than half of all bankruptcies in America, all personal bankruptcies, why is it that most of those people had full health insurance? Think about that. Most of the people who filed for medical bankruptcy were actually insured. They had full medical insurance. If you don't know the answer to that, then you don't know about the scam called health insurance in America. You know, like, for instance, co-pays, right? Some of the trickery used by the insurance industry. These are things that aren't going to be talked about. And by the way, let me just mention one more thing, because this came across the other day. Of course, Boeing is on the third week of the strike, and I didn't really know what, what they strike about. They want more money, this and that. I saw an interview, and some guy was talking about, one of the union members was talking about how they wanted their pension back. Okay, they talk about they want more money, and they wanted their pension back. Right? They wanted a guarantee. They don't have a guarantee, and they don't have enough money from their wages to contribute to their 401k. They've got a 401k at Boeing, and it matches, but they don't have enough money from their salary to even contribute to the 401k, and they don't have a guarantee. 401ks are not guaranteed, folks. 401k plans are defined contribution plans versus defined benefit plans, which I wrote about extensively in America's Financial Apocalypse, which, as someone mentioned in another stream, is like a PhD thesis, and it should be in every fucking university. business school. I bring this point up about Boeing because I wrote about this extensively 20 years ago. And I found it kind of interesting that this guy is, he's seeing that, hey, we want a guarantee. I talked about the gutting of pension plans. Folks, you don't hear about this stuff. You see, pension plans were gutted decades ago and replaced with 401k plans. Why? Because it's cheaper for corporations. This has been part of the reduction in living standards America has faced, working class Americans have faced. I'm not even going to get into some of these corporate raiders that come in, like Carl Icahn and some of these other fucking crooks that go into companies and they eliminate the pension plans. Okay. People are led to believe that 401ks are great and they fucking suck. Give me a goddamn pension any day. I wish I had a pension. Pension's guaranteed benefit. You understand? The benefit is guaranteed. 401k, you don't know what you're going to make. Pension plan, guaranteed for life. And usually those pension plans also cover health care, medical. So Boeing doesn't have that anymore. They don't have that. And you can imagine if you don't have that, how are you going to budget? You don't know what living expenses are going to be. This has been the big problem in America now it's been over the decades. That you don't hear about is the gutting of the pension system and replacement of the 401k system. 401ks give Wall Street the fucking money. I wrote about this in my book. Okay? 401ks is a way to enrich Wall Street because Wall Street's in the game now. Now you've got retail involved. Pension plans are much less retail. They're much more directly connected to the employer and out of the hands of Wall Street. They're less expensive to administer, and they're overall just a better system. You see, you don't hear any of this stuff. That's what I'm saying, folks. I mean, shit that I wrote 20 years ago. I mean, come on. I mean, you're not hearing about any of this stuff. These are major issues. You're only hearing about one issue, basically, and that's the border, right? The border. Are you fucking kidding me? I wrote about the border. I wrote about that 20 years ago, or I guess 18 years ago. That's been an issue for a long time. Don't you think, as an American, you deserve, at some point, for these politicians to really address? I mean, the borders, you don't have a border, you don't have a fucking country. I mean, give me a fucking break. To settle for that is a joke. You would think, at some point, they would address the healthcare crisis in America, and it's a fucking crisis that continues to get worse. I mean, why do you think America, people can't have guns in America anymore? You can't have guns in America. They should ban guns. Oh, guns aren't the problem. It's the people that kill people, not guns. The problem is the population's all fucked up, and you can't realize who can have a gun and who can't. Right? Why? Why do you think there's so many problems in America? Decades of open borders, decades of outsourcing. Right? What do you have? You've got desperate people with lower opportunities, and what do you have? More casinos move in, more drugs. That's what you have. That's not going to happen if you have your borders closed and you keep your fucking jobs in your country. America has been fucking wasted by these politicians for decades who allowed the outsourcing. They allowed the transfer of good jobs and pensions, good pensions, sent over to Asia, sent over to Latin America. This is what I wrote about 18 years ago. Okay? This is the reality you don't hear about. You would think 18 years after you'd hear about it. I mean, the most you get is Trump talks about bringing jobs back just to get elected. He didn't fucking do it. Right? They don't talk about health care. They don't talk about pensions. They don't talk about any of this shit. And that, folks, that's the thing. You keep people like me out of the limelight to keep people dumb and to allow the media to distract them on other things. So you're focused on the talking points of the blabbermouth airheads. You're focused on minutia. You know, the type of stupid shit that comes out of Ben Shapiro's mouth or Tucker Carlson or these other phonies. None of this shit matters. Where's the fucking jobs? Bring them the fuck back. Why did you send them? How come we can't afford health care? How much does it cost to get an MRI? Huh? You tell me in the U.S. How much is an MRI? $4,000? $4,500? Anybody? How about a CT scan? $3,000? What is it? See, the problem is they don't give you a price list. It's all hidden, like fucking criminals. Guess what? Many places, many countries, they have price lists. You know what you're paying before you go in. America is so fucked. It's so fucked that it incentivizes people to become scammers and criminals. America's broken. It's completely broken. Capitalism is in a major crisis, and I don't think it can be fixed. It's already gone far too deep. You've got nobody out there saying anything. The only time you hear anything, by the way, is when you get these fakes out there. These liberal people that are fakes, like Bernie Sanders. You know, they give you bullshit just to get elected, right? It's a big problem. It's honestly, America is in such a problem that nothing can fix it other than, like I mentioned, you know, Occupy Wall Street was the only chance that they had that could grow into something else, and it's fizzled. It's pretty much gone. People don't know. They don't even know what they would fight for. You see, think about it for a second. You had people stormed Capitol Hill 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. I don't know, something like that, right? January 6th. What was it? 2021. They stormed Capitol Hill. Why? Because they were convinced the election was stolen. They were convinced by who? By Alex Jones, right? By Tucker Carlson, by Donald Trump and his gang. And so you had people, Americans, thousands, storm Capitol Hill. That tells you the state of the population, folks. That's how fucking stupid they are. They're willing to go and do whatever they were going to do at Capitol Hill, stop the politicians from counting the votes, or whatever they were going to do, because their leaders, the talking heads they listen to, are telling them their freedoms and rights and liberties and their country's being overtaken. But never has anyone remotely come close to even thinking about doing the same thing because someone's told them that their jobs have been fucking sent overseas for decades. Sending their wages, good pensions. They can't afford health care. Think about that. Why aren't Americans storming Capitol Hill demanding affordable, accessible health care in the country that innovates most of the healthcare technologies, in the country that buys the most prescription medicines. Over 4 billion fucking prescriptions per year from Americans, and they don't even get a fucking volume discount. Not to mention the fact that most of the pharmaceutical drugs, the therapies are from America. They're from American university research centers, paid for by taxpayer money. Yet other countries get lower cost healthcare, lower cost drugs, lower cost therapies. Why don't people storm the fucking Capitol Hill based on that? Do you know why? Because people don't know what's going on. You understand now what I'm talking about with the media. That's why there's no hope for America. There's no hope. You understand? The media is a big problem. The problem is that it's concentrated, it's run by a mafia, and that mafia runs the largest criminal organization the world has ever seen. It's responsible for all the problems. This is the problem that we face. It's not just America. It trickles around the Western world. And you can't even specifically talk about it because they're that fucking scared. They're that scared to hear the facts. Imagine what I could say if I had an open microphone to the world. You don't think I can name the names? You don't think I know the details? Yeah. You understand, folks? Just think about it. When you see all the problems in America, if you truly understand what's happened to the country, to the middle class. I mean, when I wrote about it 18 years ago, it wasn't as bad as it is now. It's much worse now. If you really understand what's happened to the middle class and why it's happened, you're going to get raging mad. But that's never going to happen. See, the idea is to make you a fucking slave. You're either a victim or you're part of the criminals. This is the problem. This highlights the danger of a very concentrated, controlled media, folks. The media didn't used to be this way. The media wasn't this bad, I would say, 25, 30 years ago and before that. Even though it was, you did have many of the same owners. But it wasn't that bad. I think it really got bad. What happened was that you had the law that was passed that around the turn of the century that allowed media companies to own all sorts of media, broadcast, print, internet. This is the problem. And so, you have these huge networks now where you only really hear the true news kind of in your local news station. That something even really big is not going to make the national news. The stories that make the national news are very deliberate and they're very jaded in many cases, right? If you all notice the difference between the local news and the national news, and you wonder sometimes how some of the local news that you've seen, especially if you live in a large city, your local news, you're going to come across some higher chance of coming across some very important things that should make the national news, and they don't make the national news. Why is that? You know why. They fool the people because people think they're getting They're getting the right news from the local station, but that's not the local news doesn't affect many people. It only gets a certain number of people. And as I've mentioned, by the way, take a look and tell me if you find anything in common with every single. I'm sure there might be one or two exceptions, but on the other hand, you might just be wrong. Take a look at every single major professional sports team. Take a look at every single major sport and take a look at the owners of those teams. Take a look and tell me if there's something they have in common. And I'm talking every fucking single one of them. I'm not talking 10% or 50%. Go through the list. Go do it right now. Take a look at the NFL. Write down all the teams. Write down all the team owners. See if you can find something common they have. Take a look at the NBA. And by the way, can't forget the commissioners that run those leagues, right? NBA, MLB, Major League Baseball, right? Take a look. Tell me if you can find something in common. And then ask yourself, why would that be? That's interesting. Why? Right? Why would that be? Well, when you think about what these sports teams are, these sports players, what are they? They're not fucking athletes. They're corporate fucking mouthpieces. That's all they are. And they're also walking, moving, talking ads, right? It's just content for advertisements. That's why you've got, I don't know how many games they play in the NBA now, like 80 or something. Like, they used to play like 40, right? They want to continuously increase the games. Why? Because they want more ads, right? So you're talking about when you think about professional sports, not just professional sports, collegiate sports as well. And that's kind of interesting, actually. Take a study like I've done, kind of observe some things over the years. You can take a look at some of these university programs. You take a look and see who the athletic directors are, even in some cases the coaches. They got involved now. Why? Well, it's big media. It's media, right? The sports teams, it's all media. That's what it is. You understand? It's media. Sports is media. It wasn't really media that much decades ago. But you can imagine now, if you imagine what sports has become, right? It's a big deal. It's big media. You see what I'm saying? Decades ago, sports was what? Where do you make the money? You make the money in fucking ticket sales, right? Now, what is it? It's media deals, big time media deals. So, sports is media. And if you take a look at the owners of the sporting teams of these professional sports, you're going to find a common link between the people that own the media. You understand? I stopped watching professional sports a very, very long time ago. It's a fucking joke. It's just garbage. I'd rather watch something. Folks, anything you throw a lot of money into it, it runs it. Everything. I'd rather watch. In fact, I do watch on TV now. I watch stuff that's not like a lot of money. I'll watch, table tennis, the ping pong. Hell, I've even watched badminton. Like I said, folks, people think that the control of the money, the banks and stuff, is the biggest problem, and it's not. It's the media. And this is coming from myself. Obviously, I'm an authority in the financial world. I understand many things, that maybe someone from the outside would not understand. And I'm telling you, as powerful of a force as the financial system is, and the capital markets, the banks, so on and so forth, the media is more powerful. Control of the media by a group of people who don't have your best interest in mind, I think is more dangerous uh, than if that group controls the banking system. Remember, if you control the media, they basically control your fucking mind. Not just your mind, they control, ultimately, they will dictate your value system, right? Think about Hollywood, think about music videos, right? You understand. They will introduce things and continue to flood you with things, and they will impact not just you as an adult, but especially the youth. So they can actually control a very large portion of your life, that is the media. So that's the biggest problem. And of course, the bankers, they got a lot of power, but guess what? They can't force you into war, right? They can't convince you that you need to go to war. But guess what? Our media friends can do that through their disinformation and their brainwashing and their lies, you see. Anyway, I've said enough.